Thank you for joining us for Mental Health Performance, a series about how being healthy is more than just physical health. We have with us Graham Radcliffe, who is a school counselor and mental health performance coach working with teams and individuals at all levels, including professional players. We also have Lesley Gabel, the project director of the Safe Communities Coalition, who would like to tell you more about the Safe Communities Coalition Athletes Toolkit.
Hi, my name is Lesley Gabel of the Safe Communities Coalition of Hunterdon and Somerset County in the state of New Jersey. Today, I'd like to introduce you to the Athletes Opioid Prevention Toolkit. This toolkit was created in hopes to educate parents, coaches, teachers, athletes, and the entire community on the high-risk dangers of misusing a prescription pain pill. In addition, this toolkit provides suggestions and alternatives for using a prescription pain pill, such as physical therapy, over-the-counter medications such as Tylenol, Motrin, as well as ice, heat, massage, acupuncture. You'll find a whole list of all these different resources in this toolkit. In addition, in this toolkit, you'll also find some of the Safe Communities Coalition's documentaries that can help educate young athletes on the high risk of misusing a prescription pain pill. Please take the time to visit the Safe Communities Coalition website that is appearing on your screen right now to locate the Opioid Prevention Toolkit for athletes. It includes some of the latest researches from our Attorney General, including the documentary hosted by different athletes from the state of New Jersey on the dangers of opioids. Additionally, you'll find the Safe Communities Coalition's most recent release, The Fentanyl Factor. Fentanyl is a highly dangerous opioid that unfortunately is causing the deaths of many people, not just in New Jersey, but across the country. Thank you so very much.
Well, thank you so much for taking a moment to watch our toolkit. Tackling opioids through prevention for athletes is intended to help raise awareness on the opiate use among student athletes and to provide evidence-based information to strengthen policies and practices within school, athletic departments, and community-based athletic programs. We hope that these series where we focus on alternatives will help community members better understand with stressors and injuries rather than using opioids, alcohol, and other substances to cope, that we hope this series will help provide a guideline, set some goals, as well as maybe get you to think things in a different way around mental health performance. Now I'd like to turn this over. We're very happy to have Graham Radcliffe with us. Graham, can you tell us a little bit about yourself first?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you both and hopefully inspire some athletes to grow mentally. I think that's one of the biggest skill sets or skills that is missing in athletics today is the mind and growing your mindset. Little quick piece of my background. I was a Division I athlete, soccer player for 4 years. Went into school counseling after that. I've been in school counseling for 30 years. Along the way, I've coached soccer. I have a national license that I obtained. I coach youth level. I've coached high school level. I've coached Division I college level. And I also coach the New York State ODP, which is the Olympic Development Program. And in addition to that, I've always worked with athletes on their mental side of the game or their mental performance. And more recently, was certified in mental performance, which is basically sports psychology, but it's not clinical sports psychology, it's applied sports psychology, which is mental performance and growing your mind. So I've been working in that probably the last 2 years. It was certainly a need as we went into the pandemic with so many athletes isolated to work across this kind of platform and help them individually and work with teams and work with coaches to get through it and to still be getting through it. And I've worked with, like I said, amateur, I think you mentioned, high school. I've been working with mental performance with a couple of college athletes currently, starting a new one tomorrow, a goalkeeper. And I also have worked with professional athletes. And the interesting thing with the professional athletes is most people think, oh, professional athletes, they are top of their game, they're strong mentally, but it's not. Any level you get to, the mind is fragile and the mind can always grow and it can be turned into a strength. And some of the best athletes in the world realize that. So it's been a pleasure working with some of the professional athletes as well.
Thank you. Wow, that's quite impressive, Graham. And I think, talking about the pandemic, I know one of the reasons I reached out to you is that I kept seeing on the news, every time you turned on the news or even in social media, you kept hearing, and as very evident, the anxiety and stress levels that so many people are going through, parents, their kids, so many kids feeling like they've really lost, or feeling like they've lost out. And when we talk about athletes in particular, athletes are very vulnerable as far as substance use from the perspective that they're most likely to have an injury where they might be prescribed. The stressors that they also again, could be put on by themselves to achieve
Mhm.
has us growing concern in our prevention efforts. And so part of our work and again, speaking with you is what can we do? And probably some of the advice that you'll be able to provide us in the series is it really could apply to anyone. I know one of the areas I'd like to talk about and start with is when you said something to me and it was very impactful, where you said, let your actions lead your emotions, not your emotions leading your actions. Can you tell me a little bit what you meant by that? Because I really had me thinking through about that.
Yeah, it's pretty much most of what I've been dealing with or working individually, not so much on a team wide basis, but individually, the mindset, right? And, when we went into, and this could be anytime, not just during the pandemic and COVID, but specifically during COVID, many athletes, their stress levels went up. They've never not had that routine or something they're working towards, so their anxiety levels started to increase. And it's a very, very simple dynamic to work on, but yet very difficult to achieve. And that is just your mindset. And what I was discussing with you is that the mind is something that can easily be trained, and it's a skill. But what most people focus in on is their emotions, and they let their emotions drive their actions. So if I was going to give any advice in my 30 plus years working with athletes, working with mental performance psychology, is that if you can get to understand that it's actions first that cause emotion, and you should be taking action, those actions will cause the feelings. So if you're feeling stressed or anxious, first thing in terms of a mindset is that anxiousness and anxiety is the exact same physiological response as excitement. So it's how you look at things. So if you can change how you're looking at something, the perspective, and start to learn and start to practice, and there's skills and there's drills you can do to learn this, but you gotta not have your emotions and how you're feeling cause what actions you're going to take. If you're sitting around and you're thinking about what you should be doing, what you could be doing, and you're thinking about the what ifs, and what might happen in the future, which is certainly a mentality that happened during the pandemic and is still happening, that's only going to lead to a stressful situation, a stressful emotion, instead of thinking what is. And if you can stay in the present and think what is, and then take action, those actions are going to lead to an emotional response, which is going to help you through that time, and realize that it's a tremendous opportunity that you have to grow, and not a time of stress and wondering what if. And that's really what I've been working with in the last, say, 8 months or so with a lot of individual athletes.
One of the things that we have heard already too from a previous town hall when we were working with athletes, and from one of our coaches, and he's also a counselor, he said that many athletes and really people in general spend so much time and focus on going to the gym for their bodies and for their performances, right, to be top performers, but they spend hardly no time from the neck up and working through mental performance. So can you give us an example? So it kind of sounded pretty, straightforward what you were saying with emotions leading your actions, and you really want actions to lead your emotions. It sounds simple, but we know anything with the mind is not so simple. So can you give us maybe some examples, or do you have any activities, or how do you get someone to take that shift? I know the first is to make yourself aware, but what do you
Right.
do next?
So there's a couple of different things that I do with athletes. The first one is the easiest, which is you have to develop a sign of success for yourself. You have to determine what is success. for you, and what do you hope to achieve? Not just for that day, but long term as well. So if, let's just say you're a female soccer player and you admire Carly Lloyd on the U.S. national team, how she conducts herself as a leader, how she plays, and that's how you want to see yourself in the future. You take her picture and you put it on your phone. Every time you open your phone, you see that picture. You put it on your computer. Every time you see it, it's going to remind you of what you're working towards, that success quotient. And that's going to remind you that it takes your mind and the skill building to get you there. It's a daily motivator. If you don't have a daily motivator, it's going to be really hard to achieve your goals because there's many obstacles in the way to steer you away from your goals. So first and foremost, some sort of sign of success. And it doesn't have to be a picture. It could be a quote. It could be a word. It could be a word like discipline. So let's just say it's non-athletic and it's, I want to lose 10 pounds, right? 10 pounds may seem like, that's not a big number. I could lose 10 pounds. But anyone that's ever tried to lose weight knows that that's a really, really challenging destination to get to because your focus is always on the 10 pounds. And you got to bring it back to more present moment focus and a daily motivation. Otherwise, reaching that goal is going to be very, very difficult. So having that daily motivation is important. So it could be a picture, it could be a word, it could be a song, it could be anything that's a form of daily motivation to get you moving in the right place. From there, it's certainly goal setting, which I just mentioned. And it's not long-term, it's reverse engineering your goals. When you focus on an outcome, right, everything in between is called the process. And that goes back to your elite mind and how your thinking and growth mindset is. You got to focus on the process, not the outcome. Every time you look at 10 pounds and you think about what your goal is, that long-term goal of 10 pounds, and any little detail along the way that's a setback makes you believe you'll never get to the 10 pounds. So instead, if you micro-engineer your goals all the way back to the present and you have a daily goal and a weekly goal, and you keep your focus small and keep it in the present, then any little obstacle that comes up, like, oh, I shouldn't have had those cheese fries, now my goals are ruined. It won't, because the goal is so small for the day, it's probably attainable. And even if you have a setback for a small goal, you still believe you can get to it. So if you have a quarter of a pound for a week that you want to lose, and you set your micros and you set your exercise and your water, and you're drinking water, if you have a little setback in that week, you still believe you can get to that quarter pound weight loss. So it's an easy attainable goal, and that's where you reverse it more to a present achievable goal. Now you've accomplished that, set your next week's goal to a quarter pound as well. And you always have the 10-pound goal out there, but don't ever think about it, because as soon as you focus on 10 pounds, you're never going to get there, because all those little setbacks will make you believe, and that's where the power of the mind comes in, that you can't get there. It's the same with athletics. It's probably the same with rehabilitation of any kind, that your goals have to be small and attainable in order to get to that larger goal. So that's something I would strongly encourage. Another quick little exercise is something called a start, stop, continue journal. It's very powerful. Most people don't stick to journal writing, but if you do, if you have that daily motivation and you're really wanting to achieve that goal, the start, stop, continue is easy. You write down, what do I need to start doing to get to where I want to be? What do I need to continue doing? Because you're going to be doing some things right, and you should reward yourself for doing those things right. And then what do you need to stop doing that's preventing you from getting to that goal? And you could use it with athletics, rehabilitation, weight loss. That daily journal will refocus you and help you get to where you want to be. The last thing is BFS, which is body language, focus, and self-talk. And this is a very, very powerful tool. And it's a little more complicated, but basically it's kind of like fake it till you make it. I don't know, you've probably heard that term before, that if you, and there's a lot of research, if you get into, goes back to the action causing the feeling. If you act confident, if you act like you believe in yourself, eventually that feeling will come around and you will believe in yourself and you will be confident.
Let me ask you, Graham, as we're talking, and I have to say this is all like great stuff, but the mind can be so challenging. Mm-hmm. So how do you start? Now we talked about the pictures and but if we go back to the athletes now in the pandemic, we're seeing seasons canceled. We're seeing, many high school games, of where they thought they were coming to, or we're also seeing some that are starting to start up again, right? So a lot of times that we're going to start looking towards, the physical aspect as we. So
Mhm.
when we talk about from the neck up, what are some of the other things that we can do? So we talked about journaling. Um, but what else can you do? So I'm going to start a journal of what did you said? Stop, start, and continue.
Mhm.
Right. I'm going to put the pictures to help motivate me to get where I want to go.
Mhm.
What else do I do to get those steps? Where do I go? Where would I start if I was somebody just,
Well, like,
working on myself?
oh, you just by yourself, how do you learn to do these kinds of things?
Hmm.
Um,
Is there some place like an athlete can look up? Are there online resources, or what do I do?
there are an absolute, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of resources that you can attain, or you can look up, or you can Google, or you can go to YouTube, or you can go to Instagram, TikTok, you name it. There's a lot of people out there giving tips and advice. I think tips and advice are great, and I have my own. I have an Instagram account where I give out like little tidbits and little tips and mind hacks to try and help you along the way. Um, but it's really about consistency and making that concerted effort that you want to improve. So sometimes you might need a mentor, or you might need someone who's going to support you in that journey. I don't know of anyone who's able to be in a very difficult place and come out of it on their own. I feel very strongly that mentor or mentorship is extremely important, and it doesn't have to be a mentor that's a sports performance specialist or a sports psychologist. It could just be a mentor, someone who you look towards, who you admire, who you want to work towards being like, that can support you in your journey of where you want to go and help you with those resources. And you want to talk about a powerful tool. If anyone wants something so simple that's powerful, at night, write down 3 things you're grateful for every night, and watch you start to change. Watch you start to change. Watch your actions start to change. It's a very easy, powerful tool that anyone can use. It's just
Now,
a
let me
gratitude.
ask you about that. What is that? So you write down at nighttime before you go to sleep what you're
Three
grateful
things
for?
three things you're grateful for, right? It's going to ground you, right, in terms of what you're grateful for. And it could be a husband, it could be friends, it could be colleagues at work, it could be the support of others, it could be a doctor that pulled your tooth, you had a bad tooth, it could be anything that on that particular day. Maybe you wouldn't be happy with someone who pulls your tooth out, but you know
Maybe
what I mean?
not the
Like
day that
someone,
yeah.
you have an earache, a doctor gives you medicine, you feel better, maybe that day you're grateful for that doctor. Doesn't really matter. Each day it could be different things, or it could be the same thing. And it's gratitude, expressing your gratitude by writing it down and being accountable to yourself is going to be very powerful as you go off to sleep. And your mind is going to be rehearsing some of those gratitude thoughts. And when you wake up, if you start that stop, start, continue journal, watch your actions start to change, watch your beliefs start to change, your belief in yourself. And when you're grateful for other people and you're accountable to yourself, you're really going to grow. It,
It's interesting. We actually had a prevention resources about writing things that we're grateful for. One of the things I was talking with my colleagues at is, at the time it was hitting me as I was grateful that we had heat, running water, because everybody was suffering in Texas.
Mhm.
Happy about that, grateful for vaccines. The community that we live in here in New Jersey, in Hunterdon County, is a very close-knit community that takes care of each other. I'm not sure if a year ago, in fact, I can tell you absolutely a year ago, those wouldn't have been things that were on my mind that I would have listed as grateful. And I think that just kind of speaks to the current state that we're all in right now, right? And being able to reflect. So I would have to echo, I would
I would
echo
say,
that about what you're grateful for.
yeah, I would say I wouldn't encourage you to be grateful for something that you have that others don't.
Okay.
I would just keep your mind focused on things you're purely grateful for, right? And
So
it could
like, give me an
be,
example. What do you mean?
so if I was writing down something today,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, Tonight, if I was going to write down 3 things I'm grateful for, I'm very grateful for my wife, the support that she's given me the last couple of months doing these kinds of presentations, helping me with the backdrop, and just very grateful for her supporting me. I would also be very grateful to an eye doctor. I had a poke in the eye and an eye injury. He's made my pain go away, so I'm very grateful that he's relieved my eye issue. And I'm very grateful for my children, who are all in their own right doing things that they want to do, that they're not doing for other people, but they're doing for themselves. So those are three things I would write down tonight. But tomorrow night, it might be different. Something could occur at work. Something could occur, with an athlete. Like I'm working with an athlete tomorrow. I may be very grateful for that opportunity to let that person let me into their lives to learn a little bit about them. So it just depends on the day. And it's just a very powerful growth tool in terms of your mindset that doesn't really require a lot. And it's think of it as a mind hack or a mind trick. Because the mind is very powerful, and it's a subconscious way to ground you and ground your actions. So anyone can use it in any point of their life or what they're doing.
So Graham, these were some great suggestions, and maybe what we'll do is we'll have some of our our listeners and is to practice that. So if we just want to do a recap, right? To summarize what we talked about was let our actions lead our emotions, not the other way around. Set intentions with goals where we see whether it's a picture or a word for motivating.
Daily motivation, yeah.
Daily motivations. And I think in the morning you said to have a journal that you keep with you at the start of the day is to stop and continue, is start doing something to reach your goal. Stop doing something that's interfering with that and continuing something that you're successful. And then also, as we were just ending our segment today, we talked about gratitude. And at the end of the day is writing, and thank you for correcting me, is writing with gratitude is not about what you have that others don't, but write what you, that's more about for yourself. And that again, and just to summarize that for everyone that's listening or watching us today, that's about setting our path to really have and it can't just be every now and then, it's got to be on a continuous basis to really find that strength and to really change your direction.
Everything I was saying is really just about personal growth. And it could be for anyone. It could be for any age. It's not really specific to athletics, but yet that's what I do. But personal growth is something that we all can benefit from in any stage of our life or anything that we're doing, whether we're 15 or whether we're 50. We should always be trying to grow and always be trying to improve.
Well, thank you, Graham. And we look forward to continuing our conversation with you.
I do too.
Thank you.